It's beer o'clock on Real Ale Craft Beer. Today we've got a beer from North Brewing Company and it's a collaboration with NeonRaptor Brewing Company. And this is an Imperial Stout, but it's not just an Imperial Stout. It's an Imperial Stout with cacao, peanut and banana. It's 8.5% ABV. It's in a 440 milliliter can and it was sent by the lovely people at Bingley Brew Club. We'll talk a little bit about Bingley Brew Club in a moment, but first of all I want to get this beer out into a glass and see what we get. I'm hoping for good things with this beer. Now, Imperial Stout has been on quite the journey over the last couple of years, I would say. I remember when I first started reviewing beer on YouTube, there wasn't massive amounts of Imperial Stout brewed in the UK. I'll get to that in a moment. I want to talk about the head. 1 to 2 finger, thick, creamy, tan-coloured head, jet black beer in the glass, slow-moving carbonation. It looks like an Imperial Stout. I mean, look at the beer rolling around in the glass. Looks incredible. But yeah, just touching on that very quickly, there weren't that many British Imperial Stouts out there. I think the first time I had a British Imperial Stout was Courage. Courage's famous, very famous Russian Imperial Stout. And it just wasn't the thing. I was drinking a lot of Imperial Stout and Imperial Porters when the channel first started, but it was more a Scandinavian thing. It was coming from Norway and Sweden. It wasn't really coming from the UK. But now there's loads of Imperial Stout in the UK. But it's changed. It's changed. It's forked. There's 2 types of Imperial Stout, which we'll get to in a moment. Let's get to the aroma first on the beer. I think, just putting my nose to the beer, this is one of the styles that I think, a style of Imperial Stout that's changed. I think this is kind of the fork in the road. It's a flavoured Imperial Stout. You definitely get loads of peanut. You definitely get loads of banana. It's a really estery kind of banana-y. Do you know, like a black banana? A banana that you put in your bag and you've left it in your bag for 2 or 3 days and you get it out the bottom and it's all mushy and black. That's the aroma of the beer. A mushy black banana. You definitely get a lot of peanut as well in there. Peanut, was I talking? What peanut? Yeah, peanut. Cacao. Not really that much with the cacao. It's there kind of very slightly, but it's not there massively. But already, dare I say it, I hope there's bitterness on this Imperial Stout, but it smells very sweet. It does smell very sweet. Let's dive in. Cheers, everybody. Oh, what a battle! What a battle on my palate! Oh, wow! It is sweet, but it's also bitter, which I'm really impressed about. I have I'm very strongly opinionated about this. And I think you know that I'm really strongly opinionated about this. For me, Imperial Stout needs to have that roasted malt bitterness on the back end. And gladly and thankfully, this has that roasted malt chocolate coffee caramel on the back end of the Imperial Stout. But what it also has, what it also has is kind of like I had a beer once called Peanut Butter Jelly Time, I think. It's got like this jelly, peanut butter and jam flavour to it. But it's a banana-y jam. It's a really strange one. It's like, yeah, like a raspberry jelly, even though there's no raspberry in the beer, but raspberry and peanuts, but with banana at the same time. But then that kind of stays with you for a little while, and then the bitterness comes in on the back end. The chocolate, the coffee, the caramel. And then the banana fights back. And it's a constant battle in your mouth between those banana-y, kind of peanut buttery, dare I say it, synthetic flavours over there, battling with the roasted malt over there. And I'm going to be honest with you, I don't mind that. I don't mind the synthetic, the kind of like maybe synthetic is the wrong word. Maybe synthetic is the wrong word. Maybe I should be talking about the banana and the peanut flavour as more of a sweet flavoured stout aspect of the beer. But then it goes over to being bitter on the back end, which for me, balance is so important these days. Balance is so important. I've had stouts recently, and I was going to talk about this fork in the road, which we'll cover in a moment. Oh. It's got a lovely, rich, creamy mouthfeel as well, with a little bit of carbonation that pushes the beer around the inside of the mouth. But I just want to cover over the flavours a minute. Yeah, here's that roasted malt. That roasted malt is there. And you get a little bit of an alcohol burn as well, as the alcohol hits the pit of your stomach, makes its way down. That 8.5% ABV is kind of warming your insides. It's 7 degrees here this morning in my conservatory. It's quite cold. And this is doing a really good job of warming me up. But you're getting, if you imagine what the roasted malt does in the beer, it gives flavours of a bitter dark chocolate. That's probably helped with the cacao. That bitter dark chocolate is coming from the roasted malt and the cacao. And then you're getting a little bit of roasted coffee as well, and a little bit of sweet caramel. That's the bitterness. I nearly used the word synthetic again. The flavoured part of the beer, that banana and the peanut, is just kind of helping to balance out the bitterness of the beer. Now let's talk about that fork in the road. Over the last 2 to 3 years, so I talked about earlier on, Courage Russian Imperial Stout was probably one of my first Imperial Stouts brewed in the UK. Now there's loads. Now there's loads and loads and loads of Imperial Stouts. But for many years, it used to be really roasty, toasty, biscuity, oaty, creamy Imperial Stouts, which of course you learn to love. You learn to love, so that's over there. But the fork in the road came, like the road travelling down there and then it kind of forks over, came about 2 or 3 years ago, where stouts started to become really sweet, really cloyny sweet. They were trying to remove the bitterness and give you all of this sweetness. And I wasn't a fan of that because, simply put, over the last 15 years, I've weaned myself off sugar. I go to the dentist and the dentist hates me. And the dentist hates me for one reason. Every time he sits me down in the chair, he looks at my teeth, he goes, "Your teeth will last forever because you don't eat sugar, do you?" And I said, "No, I don't. I used to eat toffee crisps. I used to eat sweets by the bucket load, and then all of a sudden," and I think it was a lot to do with drinking bitter beer. When I started reviewing beer about 10 to 12 years ago, started drinking beer before that, I was drinking bitter beers and my palate adjusted. And I found I was enjoying bitter flavours more than I was enjoying sweet flavours. So over that kind of process, over that time period, I've weaned myself off sugar completely. Sugar, for me, if I eat a bag of sweets, it'll kind of like almost burns my mouth. When you wean yourself off sugar's a horrible thing. When you taste sugar after you've weaned yourself off it completely, it's a horrible thing. It's a awful kind of burny sensation in your mouth. So I'm very susceptible. So if you're kind of standing here watching this review going, I don't find these sweet stouts as sweet as this bloke's telling me, it's only because that kind of like I'm on the extreme. I nearly broke out into vanilla ice then. I'm to the extreme. Rock a mic like a vandal. Over here with the bitterness, rather than the kind of sweetness of stouts. So you might understand it, you might not. You might completely be standing here, completely understanding me, or you may not. I think, personally, there's one brewery that we can kind of say that changed the whole face of stouts, and that's probably Omnipolo. Omnipolo started down this road of making all these sweet dessert stouts, that's what they're called, dessert stouts. If I go to a bottle shop personally and I see the word dessert stout, I give it a big wide mark. I don't go anywhere near it. It goes straight back on the shelf. But anyway, that's a really balanced, roasty, toasty, but sweet Imperial Stout. And I can handle it. Just about. I can just about handle the sweetness of the banana. It's a really black banana in the bottom of your bag kind of flavour. But it looks good, it smells good, and it tastes good. Check out Bingley Brew Club. If you like Yorkshire beer, have a look at all of these Yorkshire breweries. Bingley Brew Club is a subscription service where you can subscribe to having lovely Yorkshire beer sent to your house, of course for a price. And also check out North Brewing Company and NeonRaptor Brewing Company. Two fantastic breweries. Rating for the beer, looks good. Pardon me. Smells good. Tastes good. I like it. It's bordering what I can tolerate with sweetness, but I like it. I like the fact that it's balanced with some roasted flavour. It's an 8 out of 10. 8 out of 10 from Real Ale Craft Beer. Please put your comments in the comments box. Subscribe to our daily beer and food reviews. Give us a big fat thumbs up. Boom. Cheers.